Hey guys, thanks for watching. In this video, I'm actually going to show you my trading performance over a couple of months, just to actually highlight certain principles, especially how just because you're trading more, it does not necessarily mean you're going to be more profitable. Very often it's about the quality of the trades and trading based on the high probability setup instead of blindly just doing 1,000 scalps in a month. But before I do that, I just wanted to talk about certain mindsets that are really important to even consider before you start trading. I've noticed that in trading, many people do like 50, 60 scalps in a week, and it's somewhat like a badge of honor to say, oh, I did 1,000 scalps this week, or I did 50 scalps this week. Somewhat as if that means that they're a good trader because they did more trades. But this is not necessarily the case. And using this table I've shown highlighted, so I'm differentiating between an employee mindset versus a self-employed mindset. I've noticed that the mindset of people who work for a company or people who are employed and generally work a 9-to-5 job say certain things and have a certain mindset. For example, they'll say, oh, I must work hard. I have to clock in and clock out because my shift is over. And the same person, as I've written here, generally splashes the earnings on booze over the weekend. Certain people who are employed might say, if I work more hours, I'll get the promotion. But as we know, this is not necessarily guaranteed, because a person who's new can just get the promotion. Or, for example, a coworker may be sleeping with the boss, and in turn gets the position that you really wanted. The whole point I'm trying to make here is that very often, if you're an employee, and I myself have worked a job as well, I'm not trying to say working a job is bad. I'm not one of those people that are like, oh, job equals just over broke. I disagree with that because at one point everybody has to have worked a job to actually fund their trading account. I myself trained to be a doctor, I studied medicine, and even in that they have to work much more than 9 hours. But it's to highlight that before entering a trade, the mindset I feel should be, rather than thinking, oh, I have to trade now because I'm at the trading desk, it should be more shifted towards trading based on opportunity, like treating trading like a business. And a self-employed person has a completely different mindset. A business owner realizes that nothing is guaranteed, but at the same time, they have the chance of getting unlimited earning potential. And this kind of self-employed person, the way they talk is just generally different. They realize that it's more opportunity-driven rather than clock-driven. And often this kind of person knows that they have to work overtime. And as a business owner, they generally have to be more self-reliant. And progress in trading very often depends on complete auditing of your trading algorithm and constant life learning to improve it. And of course, the self-employed person can avoid the politics of a 9-to-5 job, so they don't have to really worry about a coworker getting a job because of some external factors. Very often, it just comes down to grinding it out, and the pressure is very much on you. Of course, there are other external factors. But the whole point of this table is just to highlight the importance of having some rough goal, especially with trading. Rather than focusing on every single trade, I have a rough goal of the amount that I want to make by the end of the month. So for me in particular, I aim to consistently grow my account by 10 to 15%, some cases 20% every month. But I'm more focused on consistency rather than getting a stable paycheck every month. I realize that nothing is guaranteed, as I've written here. But at the same time, I know in trading that my upside is unlimited. And whilst trading, you're competing in one of the hardest professions, I believe. You're trying to extract money from the markets, from some of the smartest minds in the world. It is one of the most difficult professions. And do you really think it's going to be handed over to you in a plate? Absolutely not. You will face periods which you have to work at break even. And you will definitely not be working based on a clock, as I've written here. Very often you have to work overtime, because nothing is guaranteed. But I prefer believing in that 80-20 rule as well, the Pareto principle. And I ask myself, how can I actually put 20% of the effort and get 80% of the results? How can I actually fast forward this process? And one of the ways I do this is actually by looking at the end month result. And I ask myself, what is the most efficient way to get there. So this table I've constructed based on my performance of trading across the last 1 to 2 years. I've just picked certain random months, no particular order, but it's just to highlight one principle. So as you can see, I've put the month here. So from June 2021 to December 2022, so this last month. And I've stated the number of trades I've actually made every month in total, not every week, every month. And this column highlights my actual account balance growth from the start of the month to the end of the month. As you can see, in June 2021, I've written, I placed 75 trades, roughly. And the account balance growth was break even. As I mentioned earlier, going back to the slide, nothing is guaranteed. But you have the potential of unlimited upside. This trade here, November 2021. This month I placed 60 trades. At this point I was more of a scalper. I wasn't like a hardcore scalper, but I did get in and out of positions very often, many times in a day. But overall I increased my account balance by 2.4%. So all that effort for 2.4%. September 2022, I placed 17 trades of the month. And I grew my account by 9.5% as a net increase. I had some really big winners, but then I took on more risk, and then I had some losers. And in October to November 2022, I only placed 10 trades in the month, and I grew my overall account by 17.8%. And this recent last month, I placed only 5 trades this month. 5 really high conviction trades overall. And overall, so far, I've made 15.5%. And so it's just to highlight that employee mindset. It's not necessarily correlated to the number of trades you make, as shown in this column and this column. Some months, me personally, I've placed 3 trades and I've grown my account by 20%. Other months, I've traded much more and I've actually been on a negative balance. But also bear in mind, this table, I'm following strict risk management protocols. At the most, I only risk 1% of my account per trade. Sometimes I risk 0.5 or 0.6% of my account per trade. For me, risk management is one of the most important things, and it's what really helps me to stand the test of time. Also, I also follow certain other rules. For example, I tried to limit myself to 1 or 2 instruments, so in this case Bitcoin and Ethereum, and also sticking to fewer instruments as I did. With 97% Bitcoin, as you can see here, and 3% roughly Ethereum, it means that I'm able to understand the support and resistance levels of these instruments better, especially in a really difficult bear market when there's so many unknowns. And it just means that I'm not as overexposed, rather than having 10 different altcoins and getting stopped at all of them. Of course, I trade altcoins when there's a really high probability setup, but honestly, the last couple of months, I've just been sticking to Bitcoin and Ethereum. But as you can see here, in no way, shape or form does the number of trades correlate with the actual account growth. For example, you can see here I placed 75 trades overall in June 2021, but I just broke even. But this October to November 2022 region, I placed 10 trades overall in the month, and I grew my account by 17.8%. So it's shifting the mindset more towards, okay, what is my ultimate goal by the end of the month? How much do I roughly want to grow my account? And what is the fastest, most efficient way possible? I'm not saying that you have to do a swing trading strategy or you have to stick to a higher time frame. Not necessarily. You could be a scalper and do really well as well. It just depends on the person. The whole point I'm trying to make is that treat this more like a business rather than focusing on the number of trades. So for me, trading is a full-time business. So do you really think I'm going home one day after work thinking, oh, I'm just going to sit on my sofa now. Okay, I'll just boil the kettle. Okay, and whilst I'm doing that, I'm just going to on the TV as well. Oh, okay, and then whilst I'm doing that, I'm just going to on the laptop. I'll put a few scalps on, why not? No, I'm not doing that. For me, this is a business. And so I'm focusing on the result at the end of the month. And I ask myself, how can I use the 80-20 rule and get the most efficient way possible? And the way I do that is by focusing on really high probability setups. That might mean some weeks I'm placing 6 trades in the week. Other weeks I do no trading at all. It's all dependent on the actual situation. And this is my point. Some weeks I do nothing. Some weeks I do so many trades. Some weeks I've had to do 9 trades. it's more opportunity driven rather than working by a clock. If I'm sitting at my desk, I'm not saying to myself, oh, I'm sitting on my trading desk, therefore I must be placing trades because I'm a trader. No. I'll have days where I look at the screen all day and I'll do absolutely nothing. I'll just sit and observe. And in particular this last week, for example, there's been so many news announcements, and what I found very useful is doing absolutely nothing in many days. Waiting 4 hours after the news announcement, and then once price settles, just react then. Very often news is just an external factor that I can't possibly always account for, and it's something very difficult to replicate in terms of a trading algorithm. But this table is not to show off, it's more to highlight the principle of working smart rather than just working hard at trading. And that you don't necessarily have to place 500 scalps in a single month. Maybe you might find that you might need to scalp less and you can make much more. Very often, some traders, they only place 3 or 4 trades in a month, but their actual gains are often 10 times more than someone who places 500 trades. So it's just about working smart, I think. The ultimate question I ask myself is, if everything was taken from me, if my whole account balance was taken from me, which of course it might be, for example, we had the FTX situation in which many good traders actually lost their account because it was locked up, and FTX went insolvent. So I asked myself, if everything was taken, can I do this process? Am I able to replicate this trading process from scratch? And this is what links me to this diagram. Initially, when you start trading, you might have some beginner's luck, and you might make few gains here and there, and you get overconfident. And when you get overconfident, you can lose a lot of money because your competence does not match your confidence. Then eventually you get at this break-even phase. You have many months where you make 1 or 2% or break-evens despite placing so many trades. But this is very common anytime you learn a new skill set. And it's just about grinding through this, constantly learning, and I'm still learning. And of course, once you develop your trading plan, you fine-tune your algorithm, risk management, knowing when not to trade, improving your psychology, then you can have this exponential phase. But it just baffles me. Very often, many of us are so prepared to do a 9-to-5 job, for example, a doctor or a lawyer or an architect, and some of these jobs take 10 to 20 years to do. But as humans, fear and greed just completely just rule us. Why is that with trading we can't have that same level of discipline? Why are we not able to just not rush this process and just focus on developing the best system that's suited towards our trading style? And so ultimately, I just think trading has to be treated like a business. And it's just perhaps just shifting your mindset towards trading based on opportunity rather than trading based on the clock. Guys, thanks a lot for watching. If you appreciate the way I've been really transparent in this video by showing some of my trading performance over the last 1 to 2 years in this particular example, please do like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, which I set up quite recently. That'll just encourage me to make more of these videos. And because I've set this channel up quite recently, you won't actually see these videos until you actually subscribe. So thanks a lot for watching, and I'll catch you in a bit.